Okay, this is number 4, the rubric, report rubric video lesson, looking at the second page of the rubric. The first page we've gone through, maybe more specific to the task itself. So that's 42 points available there. The second part, we have a further 48 available. So generally speaking, the content of the report. Remember, you've had a brief from the start that it must be a problem solution consequence problem. So when you were thinking of your titles, a lot of the time I was asking the question, what's the problem? What's the solution? Because it must follow this pattern. I'm pretty confident that they all do. So it should be an easy 4 points there. These are critical, or more critical, so they carry slightly more points. Ideas are well developed and the topic explored at depth. So if you have achieved the word count of 800 words or more or less, then you should have enough space to develop in sufficient depth. Just be careful that you're not submitting words reports that are 1200, 1200, or too long. I will stop reading them. Okay, so not only will you lose points here, but I probably won't read the conclusion. I will know when they're longer than 900. If you're going over 900, you really need to edit them back and rewrite them and paraphrase them more concisely. There's that word again. So be more efficient with words. Okay. So 3 quite simple points there, but worth 12 marks. So quite important. Right. Moving on then. Coherence. Coherence just means easy to understand, easy to follow. As a reader, you don't want to have to read things again to understand them. So this is done on a sliding scale of 8 to 0. If I have to start rereading some of it for whatever reason, it's not presented well or your ideas aren't logically presented, then you will start losing points. If I don't have to reread it, then you score 8 automatically. A little bit of rereading goes down to 5. Some unclear areas, yeah, so a little bit less clear or very difficult to follow throughout. Remember that your technical area is different to mine. So if you choose to use too technical language, then the chances are I'm going to have to reread it. I will do my best to distinguish whether it's my problem for not understanding technical language or your problem for not being clear. So there is some allowance because, I'm not from the same background as you. I'm not a engineer or whatever it is that you are studying. So there is a little bit of flexibility in there. If I suspect it might be my fault, but generally speaking, I can tell whether it's based on language issues or technical issues. So there you go, possible 8 points. And then organization. We've worked a lot on this. We've broken the course down into points of organization, really, and sections. So I mentioned before, you need to make sure that you are using paragraphs appropriately and effectively. These are important that I can see when your paragraphs start and finish as well. So if we, for example, often I see, see if I can get an example. We do new document. Let's get a AI generated report quickly. A report in simple English. Write a, let's say, 400 word report in simple English about plastic pollution. Okay, so there we go. We can see paragraphs. Even Chat GPT uses paragraphs. Chat GPT always does this. There are certain indicators that people have used Chat GPT. One of them is the word count, because this clearly isn't 400 words. It's more than 400 words. Paste that. Why isn't that? Oh, yeah, use this. Copy. And okay, so notice no citations, right? So another indication that you have used Chat GPT would be no citations. And the biggest indicator would be when you came to present, would be very clear you use Chat GPT. So even though I'm using Chat GPT for this example, please don't be tempted. It's not worth it. Most people that fail have used AI to generate their essays. Okay, so going back to the original point, you can see that paragraphs are used here. I have had students submit things that look like this. Right, these are not paragraphs. This is just a list of sentences. Right, so please don't do this. Use paragraphs nicely. Remember, paragraphs contain one general idea that is developed. If you want to then present a new idea, then start a new paragraph. Okay, so paragraphs look like this, much better organized. Okay. Writer uses paragraphs appropriately. That's that. Writer uses cohesive devices to link paragraphs. So cohesive devices mean make it easier to read. Okay, so for example, this one introduced plastic pollution. Plastic pollution is a serious environmental problem. It defines what plastic is there, and then it identifies it as a problem, an issue, and the reason why it takes hundreds of years to break down can harm wildlife. And then it goes into the causes of plastic pollution. So this connects the two. So one of the main causes of plastic pollution, that is a cohesive device. It links the two paragraphs. There are other more obvious ones. So the plastic pollution is the topic of the topic sentence here. So it does not only affect animals. And then a reduction of plastic pollution here, plastic pollution mentioned here. So often repetition works as cohesive devices. Other phrases, we've looked at one already. To conclude could be a linking device because it signifies the end of the report and the start of the conclusion. They've used in conclusion, actually. I didn't need to do that. Other phrases that you often see, on the other hand, on the other hand, phrases such as as a result of, maybe in addition to, not only, but also. These can work to link the ideas between the paragraph. Transition phrases to transition between. They're not always needed, but some kind of device. So here, for example, they are linked by the repetition, by the vocabulary can work as well. Okay. Go back to our rubric. Writer uses cohesive devices to link paragraphs. Writer uses cohesion within paragraphs. So that's an interesting one. Here, phrases like this, using this can lead to health problems, is a good example. So plastic pollution does not only affect animals, it also impacts humans. Imagine if this was replace it with plastic pollution. So plastic pollution does not only affect animals, plastic pollution also affects humans. Chemicals from plastic waste can enter the water and food chain, making their way into the foods we eat. This can lead to health problems for people. So plastic entering the foods we eat can lead to health problems. Can you see the difference? It doesn't sound good now. It sounds very repetitive. Plastic pollution does not only affect animals. Plastic pollution also affects humans. Chemicals from plastic waste can enter the water and food chain, making their way into the foods we eat. Plastic entering the foods we eat can lead to, it's not cohesive, it's repetitive, it's not nice. So we use those phrases, short words, referencing words like this and it. And that's all that means about cohesion within paragraphs. So you're avoiding repetition, making sure that all the ideas and supporting sentences link to the topic sentence and develop the ideas within the paragraph. And that's what that means. Subheadings and headings. So these are reports. So they can be very simple, such as solutions, you know. If it's one solution, it could be, if there's more than one solution, solution one, maybe reducing plastic use. Yeah, it doesn't just have to be solution consequences problem. You can be a little bit imaginative with your headings, but it is a report, so I would expect to see subheadings. Okay, that's all for this video. I'm going to stop it and we're going to look at the rest in the next video.